Hey, what's up, man? So I have two very easy questions just to see if people, are smarter than a fifth grader. Multiple choice, very easy.
Okay.
All right, let's give it a shot. So here, we'll start with the first one. This is the first one. So here I have 3 box trucks. They're all on a level surface. They're all completely sealed, and they all have an apple hanging from a string inside.
Yes.
The only difference between these 3 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Which one is at rest? And when and everything else is constant, and everything's still?
Yes, at rest. Exactly. So one of the trucks is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3, which one would you say is at rest?
Okay. I suppose B?
Yeah. And what would you say B?
Because the ball itself is still, meaning that there's no acceleration forward, meaning that the string will be pushed one way or the other. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So which one's accelerating forward?
The one that's accelerating forward would be A.
A. How do you know A is accelerating forward?
Because the forward acceleration of the car this way essentially leaves the ball in its tracks behind.
Yes. So the
ball
apple
falls,
is being left,
exactly,
it falls behind, exactly. So it only appears to swing back because the whole truck's moving forward.
Yeah.
Because again, the ball's still behind. Exactly, you got it, pretty easy. So the second one, pretty similar, but instead of an apple, is a helium balloon. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
And everything else is constant.
Yes. Everything else, it's the same thing.
Okay.
One is at rest.
I suppose B is at rest.
Yes, and it's for the exact same reason as the first. It's because
Yes.
there's no motion of
Right.
the balloon. Okay, which one's accelerating forward?
Which one is accelerating forward? I suppose. And it's a string. It's tied to a string.
It's tied to a string. Yes, that's a string.
Okay.
Just like a balloon string. Similar to this, it's tied to a string. This is a buoyant object. The helium balloon's buoyant.
So, I suppose again, the accelerating one would be A for the exact same reason as the ball.
You think?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so in reality, the answer is actually C in this one.
Okay.
And there's 2 reasons why. So the first reason is helium is less dense than air. That's obvious, right? Helium is less dense than air. The second reason is a force. So as soon as I apply a force in this direction, all of the air that's trapped inside of the truck as well is also being forced in that same direction through space. And because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it in the same direction that air is moving. So again, helium just reacts to the direction that the air is also being pushed. That's what buoyancy is. It's a chain reaction of a force. Right? And I can show that here. This is a buoyant object. So if I apply a force in this direction, what direction will the ball go?
The ball?
The ball, yeah, because this is a buoyant.
It will go in this direction. Yeah.
It will go in the same direction. You got it. So again, because it's buoyant, right?
I see.
So here's the true question to see if you're really smarter than a 5th grader. So I recreated this experiment inside of a cargo van. And I want to see if you can tell me what direction I accelerate. So there's an apple and a helium balloon hanging from a string.
Forward, this way.
Forward, yes, exactly, because the apple simply got left behind.
Right.
But if we're inside the container, like this camera is, and we're just simply looking at the apple and the helium balloon, we see 2 motions.
That's right.
But in reality, only one is moving and one is only apparent. So one is apparent motion and one is true motion.
Okay.
Which one would you say is true motion?
True motion would be the balloon.
Yes, because the apple is not really moving, it's just being left behind. Right. So again, one more question. If I have a helium balloon here on Earth and I release it, what direction does it go?
Assuming everything constant, wind and everything else. If you have a helium balloon, it goes up because of, again, the buoyant force. It's less
buoyant, exactly. And if I have an apple and I release it, what direction does that go?
It falls because it's more dense than air.
Now let me ask you this: same thing with this experiment. A helium balloon and an apple, they both get released. One has true motion and one has apparent motion. Which one would you say has true motion?
I suppose the balloon.
The balloon has true motion, exactly. So the apple falling or anything that's dense falling, it only has apparent motion. I don't know if you knew gravity.
It's spinning.
Well, here's the thing. I don't know if you gravity as a pulling force is just the theory. I don't know if you knew that. Which means it has never been proven or physically detected. So when something is released into free fall, everybody believes that the object accelerates down to the Earth, but in reality, it doesn't. So it only appears, again, because it's actually the Earth that's moving up to the object. That upwards push of the Earth is what's pushing up the air, and that's how the air is able to push up a helium balloon, which has true motion. So the Earth, the air, and the helium have true motion, and something that's in free fall doesn't. And that's why gravity as a pulling force will never be proven because it doesn't exist. So the actual force of the Earth is a push. It's an upwards push of the Earth, not a pull. So that's the reality, and buoyancy shows us that.
You're saying that gravity isn't actually a true pulling force?
It's not. It's only an apparent motion of objects falling, but that's because the ground is moving up to the object. So the object in free fall is just being left behind. So that's the reality. And you might think that, well, what does that matter, right? Have you heard of the normal force of the Earth? The upwards push of the Earth?
How would you...
So let me ask you this real quick before you... So you believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Yes.
So you understand that on a ball, up is relative, right? So if you're standing here, up is this way for you, but if you're standing down here, up is this way for you. But if you're standing here, up is this way. In every direction away from the center will be up on a ball, right? It's relative. If we could prove, physically, that the Earth is not pulling you down and it's in fact pushing up on you, in other words, moving up, how can the Earth push up or move up in every direction at the same time if it was a ball?
Because it's spinning.
But that would mean the Earth is moving this way, not this way, this way, this way.
No, but the Earth moves in a very specific direction in relation to the sun.
Yeah. You're saying, so it's moving up this way, right? So it's only
exactly.
Yeah. So here's the reality.
But again, the spinning force acts on everyone, and you can actually see that in the fact that some parts of Earth have less gravity than other parts.
Right, sure.
At the poles, we have less gravity compared to at the equator.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that physics shows that when I release this object, everybody believes this object moves down to the Earth through space. The reality is it's the Earth that's moving up through space, and this gets left behind, and the Earth ground just catches up to it.
Doesn't that? But the following thing that assumes a bunch of things, because Earth's gravity.
Again, a pulling force of gravity which has never been measured or detected.
Again, in space, right?
Yes.
As a vacuum.
Yes.
There is no such thing as falling.
You could say that, sure.
There is no such thing as falling.
Yes.
So things are relative to each other.
Yes, you need a force in order for things to fall. Right?
Right.
Would you agree? But the thing is that the force of the Earth is not pulling this to make it fall. It's the force of the Earth is catching up to it to appear to make it fall.
But again, it doesn't matter because if you want to explain this, you'd have to also justify to me that the sun itself has some sort of mechanism. For example...
Well, first of all, the sun is completely out of our realm of reaching it and trying to test it exactly to know what it is. And in my opinion, it's completely irrelevant when it comes to the shape of the Earth.
So?
Because nobody can actually go to the sun and prove what it is and how far it is and how big it is. Second, even if you could do that, that doesn't prove anything about the dimensions of the Earth physically, whether it's a globe or not. So here's my point. So in order for the Earth to be able to move up and be a ball at the same time, it would have to be expanding by the second, which wouldn't work. It would just explode. So in order for people to believe in the ball Earth theory, they first have to believe in the gravity being a pulling force of the Earth, because if we could prove that it's the other way around and it's the Earth pushing up instead, then the whole globe Earth model would fall apart. It won't even work on paper. Put it that way. So it's a requirement of the globe Earth for people to believe in a pulling force of gravity, which actually doesn't exist. It shows that the force of the Earth is up to push the Earth. So the fact is, the Earth is simply just an extended level plane, and it's moving up in one direction. So everybody's up is the same.
Do you believe that?
So the Earth is not expanding.
Do you believe that it's impossible to find the shapes of any other celestial objects?
So in my opinion, when we're talking about the shape of the Earth, again, whether it's a globe or not, looking at the celestials, the stars, the sun, and the moon, tells us nothing about the dimensions of the Earth. So it becomes a red herring argument, which means it's a false argument.
I don't think so. I mean, do you think that? So you think that Earth is unique compared to the entire
100%.
universe?
So the luminaries in the sky, in my opinion, they're not terra firma, and they're not trillions and trillions of miles away. So this whole idea of space in between two bodies, that are terra firma, is all made up. So nobody's actually been outside of the Earth contained system. So the Earth is a contained system. We haven't been outside of it. The luminaries are part of the system.
How do you justify things like the speed of light?
So the speed of light is a concept. So it has, it's just a concept.
All things are concepts.
No, physics is not a concept. Physics can be tested and proven.
And the speed of light can be proven as well.
No, it can only work mathematically.
Oh, no, but that's not true. See, the speed of light is a proving
Okay,
constant as well.
let's say they did prove the speed of light. How does that prove that the Earth is a globe?
Because differing objects, the image of these objects arrives at Earth at a certain speed, which suggests that according to the speed of light, it must be XYZ distance away.
Okay, so that's just a theory based on another theory.
What is it?
Yeah, because
We've proved the speed of light.
okay, so let's say that was true then, and you did prove that these lights were coming from far away. How does that prove the Earth is a globe?
Well, it immediately calls into question your previous claim.
What?
That the object in space are not commercially trillions of miles away.
Well, what does that have to do with proving the pulling force of gravity then? Because if the Earth wasn't pulling
because
and it was pushing, would you admit that it wouldn't work?
All the physics calculations that operate under the assumed globe Earth are consistent.
What measurements or operations you're talking about specifically?
Well, the entire idea of gravity is that objects with mass make way upon the plane of space-time.
Right.
So, if you have a plane, right? The sun is an extremely heavy thing. It weighs it down, and like a blanket, objects circle around. You've seen the video.
I've seen the diagram of a 2D blanket, but an object in space is in three-dimensional
Right,
space.
but allow me to finish.
Sure.
The calculations of gravity, assuming mass being consistent with everything else, have shown that the gravitational constant applies based on these things. And so when we observe the distance, and so the distance of these celestial objects is extremely important. If the distance was to be this way, and the orbits were to be this way, and so on and so forth, then it would mean necessarily that there must be the gravitational force that's been described and theorized.
So what you're saying is like, if gravity was true as a pulling force, and if these lights were truly far away, and if these calculations were done correctly, then the Earth must be a globe. But there's a lot of ifs there.
No.
See what I'm saying?
These ifs are placeholders for arguments. It's
No. Because
they have been proven mathematically and by physics.
what if all of these arguments, right, were founded upon a false premise or started from a false premise?
What's the false premise?
That the pulling force of that the force of gravity is a pulling force. So the whole globe Earth concept starts from that false premise. That's why it's so important to understand that the upwards push of the Earth is the only force that exists, and buoyancy shows us that. You can't have air push up a helium balloon if the air's not being pushed up as well. The air has to be moving up through space to be able to push a helium balloon up as well. Just like in any other example, a helium balloon cannot get pushed this way if the air's not being moved that way. You would have to believe that's the case, which defies physics. The air cannot be pulled down, but helium goes up in the opposite direction the air's moving. Does that make sense? That shows that the air is being pushed up from underneath, so the Earth is pushing up against us, not pulling us down. And that's how we get this, all the effects we experience here on Earth. That's how we have weight, because the Earth is pushing up against us, and our bodies are resisting that push, and that's why we have weight, because we're resisting the upwards push. Heliums are not dense enough to resist the push, so they go with the push. And that's why the buoyancy is a push. It's an upwards push of the Earth.
Again, the issue is the impossibility of it being like otherwise, and also the fact that because again, if the Earth was assumed to be flat,
Level. Yeah,
It would
because
not-
flat is a psyop. But yeah, it's level.
it would not. Again, it would essentially disagree with all Okay, level.
Level. And I'm going to tell you the difference. Flat, over 95% of flat earthers claim the Earth is motionless. So they deny the upwards push of the Earth. So they're worse than globe earthers. So they're debating that there's another force pulling things down, but not gravity. It's some other retarded shit. So flat Earth versus globe Earth, it's a false dichotomy.
What do you think it is that pushes the Earth up?
Oh, that's a mystery. Nobody's been outside of the Earth. So you ask me, what's the mechanism of the Earth's motion? Huh? That's a mystery. I would love to know. They mock it, trying to say that there's rockets underneath the Earth pushing it up, but I think it's something way more sophisticated, beyond our comprehension.
Here's the thing. So gravity, right?
Yes.
The reason gravity works is because it coincides with a lot of other science that must be the case.
What other science?
For example, the globe, right?
Yes.
The idea of the globe.
Yes.
It was proven by the Greeks certain things that if the Earth was not round, if the Earth was not a ball, could not possibly be the case.
Are you talking about kind of like the sticks and shadows experiment,
Yes.
for example? Okay, so the sticks and shadows experiment, could be easily debunked as to not. So here's two assumptions that they made when they did that experiment. They didn't do that experiment to prove the Earth was a globe. they did that experiment to measure the circumference of the Earth. What that means is that they're already assuming the Earth was a globe, so they're just measuring the circumference. So they're assuming that the sun is 93 million miles away, which means all the light rays are coming in parallel, and they're also assuming that the Earth is a globe already, so that they're able to measure the angle of difference between those light rays and shadows. That's how they're able to calculate for the circumference. So they're not proving the Earth is a globe. They're assuming it's a globe and now measuring for the circumference. So it's an assumption that they're making. So they're not proving anything with the sticks and shadows.
Aren't you assuming that there's that it's impossible to observe outside the globe?
Yes, I would say it is impossible. Nobody's been outside of the Earth, but here's my thing. I don't need to go outside of the Earth to know that it's not a globe.
But do you think so? Again, are you assuming that it's impossible with telescopes to see what is beyond the what's in space?
Well, I don't deny that we can look at the sky and observe these luminaries, but what I deny is what they're telling me these luminaries are.
But again,
nobody knows what they are.
So you think that with telescopes, what we can see, like looking at the moon, looking at the movements of the stars, and everything else, that's false?
No, that's true. But I would say that the motion of the stars is not because we're spinning; it's because the sky is spinning. Yeah. So we're not spinning, in my opinion. We're just moving up, and that's what gravity is, pretty much. It's an upwards motion of the Earth. It's not a pull of the, because this imaginary force that everybody believes pulls this down to the Earth, this doesn't exist. What happens again is the Earth that moves up, and this only falls due to inertia. So the same reason why the apple gets left behind is because it has inertia. So it's able to resist the air pushing it because it's more dense than the air. The air's not dense enough to push it up. So that's why the air's not dense enough to push this up, and that's why it just gets left behind due to inertia. It's not a force accelerating this down. You know, it's just an effect of the Earth's upwards motion. And then this is just gets left behind. You know, that's the number one proof to debunk the globe Earth. You know, the fact that gravity is not a pull, is a push. You know, and that's why it's the number one census thing. And that's why flat earthers, the motionless flat earthers, are the controlled opposition. You know, they're denying the upwards push of the Earth, which is the number one thing that destroys the whole globe Earth concept. So again, this whole motionless flat Earth, it's all bullshit.
You say controlled opposition?
Yes, controlled opposition.
Are you from some sort of religious background?
No. I stay away from religion. So the globe Earth is the biggest religion on Earth, believe it or not. So if you think you're, like, for example, somebody that's an atheist, I used to be atheist myself, the irony is they're the biggest religion, in my opinion, like the most dumb religion too, because they think they don't have beliefs, but they believe that everything came from nothing. That is a belief, and that is a religion, you know, which defies physics, because something can come from nothing. You know, something can only come from something else.
So you're a Christian?
I'm not a Christian either. I acknowledge that this is a creation, and that's it. I don't buy into any religion. Any religions that exist here on Earth are all created by man, and they're there to control other people. The fact is, nobody knows how this place was created, but the fact is that it was. You know, that's what physics shows. You know, it couldn't have came from nothing. That's impossible. So we did come from something else that's intelligent, 100%. I don't know what that is. I have no clue. I don't even know if this place is like heaven or hell. You know, some people might say this is like a prison. I think it probably is kind of like a prison. If you look at nature, how everything eats itself, it's pretty horrific. This is probably hell. You know, but I don't know. I can't prove that. What I can prove is that it's not a globe in outer space. You know? I'm gonna tell you this. The number 2 proof that debunks the globe, real quick. Do you know the radius of the Earth?
Not exactly.
Right? Because obviously if the Earth has curvature, we should be able to measure it, right? So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles. So based on the radius of the Earth and using a simple calculation like the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we can calculate for how much curvature there should be every mile. And every mile there should, you know, it be an increase in curvature. And it turns out there should be 8 inches per mile square of curvature. So how do we measure for that curve, right? So again, in the first mile, there should be an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches. And by the third mile, there should be 6 feet of measurable curvature. So if we went out to a giant lake that was 3 miles across, for example, and we built a level structure above the body of water, the water is going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it when it's at rest, because that's the physics of water. It takes the shape of the container, but the surface always equalizes. It forms a level surface, right? They're trying to tell us that the surface of water is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and 66 feet in 10 miles. So they're trying to say that if you're in a lake that's 10 miles across, the end of that lake is 66 feet below you. And that's physically impossible for water to be able to do that. So the physics of water, again, shows that it is a physical impossibility for the Earth to be a globe. Because that would mean the oceans will have to be bending around the ball as well, just like every lake on Earth would. But again, water doesn't have the physical ability to do that on the surface. You know, So this will be the number 2 proof to debunk the globe, the physics of water.
The oceans do bend.
That's what you're told, but...
By the fact that boats, when they... You know the example I'm going to give you, so what's your prediction?
Okay, so the boat's disappearing over the horizon, right? So we do have a limit to how far we can see. So we do have a limit of perspective. So when something, for example, you have an object in front of you, and then the further it goes away, it appears to shrink down to a point, right? And eventually you can't see it anymore. The resolution's not there anymore. You're not able to see it. What happens is that everything shrinks to a point because we have spherical eyes. So the horizon is simply the limit of perspective, is the limit of the field of view.
The issue is that it's not that the boats disappear, it's the fact that the boats...
From the bottom up.
From the bottom up.
Yeah, so here's what happens. Because the ground is obviously closer to the boat than the sky, there's nothing above the sky. So the ground in front of the boat, once the boat goes out too far into view, here, let me show you a graph so I can explain this way easier. But it's because the ground underneath starts to block the boat leaving. So that's why it starts to disappear from the bottom up. Here, let me show you this. It's a pretty good graph. It kind of shows. Here it is. Here's some images of that. Look, train tracks, right? They're parallel, but they appear to converge to a point because that's how we see. But we know these are parallel, right? Same thing with the hallways. The hallways are parallel, but they appear to shrink to a point. So here's the thing: when we're observing a boat go over the horizon, this arc represents our eye, right? When we're observing an object above the eye or below the eye, the further it goes out in a straight line, the more it shrinks down to the eye line, which is the horizon. So when the boat simply goes out of view, the ground in front of it just starts to block it. So now the bottom starts to get blocked. And the further it goes out, it starts to block more and more and more because the boat is just shrinking down. Does that make sense? And then the water in front of it or the land in front of it is now blocking. So it's all due to perspective. That's why. Because if you bring out a powerful zoom camera and the boat disappeared, you bring it back into view, which will be physically impossible if it was truly going down a physical curve. It's like if something went around this object and I bring out a camera, I shouldn't be able to bring it back into view because it's already behind the object. So if a boat was truly going down a curve, you shouldn't be able to bring a binoculars or a powerful zoom camera and bring it back into view, and that's what happens. Because you're increasing your limit of perspective with binoculars. So again, a physical measurement of the Earth's curvature has never been done because it doesn't exist. Just like a physical downwards acceleration of gravity has never been detected because it doesn't exist. It's up. The force of the Earth is up. So let me ask you this. Is it possible that we have been lied to at a mass scale about the nature of the Earth, or are you 100% convinced that it is a ball?
Well, I disagree with the entire idea of the flat Earth.
No, I disagree with it too. 100%. I don't agree with flat Earth.
Even with the idea of the level Earth, I think I do agree completely with the ball Earth.
What convinces you? Like, what's the number one thing that convinces you 100% it can't be anything else?
Again, like I said before, it's the impossibility of it not being the case. In order for the Earth to be anything other than a ball, it would question essentially all of our ideas on physics. It would call into question the truthfulness of basically the entire world.
Do you think governments are 100% honest?
It's not about governments. Even pilots would have to be lying. Or if it wasn't the case that pilots were lying, you'd have to say that airplanes themselves were like some sort of false thing, like a teleporter or something.
So do you think pilots sign NDAs? Or?
Again, there are people, even if they sign NDA, it doesn't matter at all, because in the massive population of pilots on Earth, there are people who don't. There are people who break NDAs all the time.
Sure.
But that's a common thing. Sure. So the existence of NDAs doesn't disprove any sort of.
That was just a question because you're saying that pilots must be lying and
No, I'm saying that well, in order to assume a globe Earth, we must assume that literally every single pilot is in on it.
Could they believe that they're on a globe, still flying a plane?
No, because planes themselves are routed very specifically in order for the fastest route to be in accordance with the assumption of the globe.
Right. So they have to believe that they're flying over a globe, right? Pilots?
They have to fly the plane over a globe.
They believe that,
no, but
in my opinion.
Do you think that pilots steer the planes? They fly.
Yeah, they fly. They say that gravity autocorrects because airplanes fly level. You know what that means? They fly straight.
I'm asking you, Well, yeah, but
They don't point their nose down to go around the globe. They just fly level. They actually point their nose up, slightly up, 1 degree to maintain level flight. I wonder why, and I think it's because the Earth will catch up and crash into it. So when airplanes are flying level, look this up. Their nose is slightly pointing up, not down. So it should be pointing down if they're going down a curve, but they're not. They're pointing up because the Earth is moving up too.
again,
And that's only to maintain level flight.
you have to assume that these people are in on the enemy because they see the curvature of the Earth from the
Let me tell you this: there are pilots that have came out. There's videos, but I don't take these, as proof of anything. But there are pilots that have came out and admitted the Earth is a level plane. It's not a globe, 100%. There's pilots, but they're not going to risk their careers and go out to a news station.
But that's a very super tiny fraction.
My point is that what you're saying is it's completely irrelevant to prove either or.
It's relevant.
And there's actually pilots that do go against the
Very
grain.
relevant because, again, in order for the Earth to not be a globe, it essentially has to be the case that that 99%, because that's around the ratio of globe Earthers to level Earthers to flat Earthers. You have to assume that everyone who has physics, everyone who's a pilot, everyone who works on the assumption of a globe Earth is lying.
Well, I believed it, and I talked about it, and I wasn't lying. 10 years ago, before I came across this subject, I believed the globe Earth. I talked about aliens, I talked about other planets, and I wasn't lying. I believed it. You know what I'm saying?
Again,
most people just believe it too. They're not lying.
But these people work on. No, that's the problem though. They don't. Their jobs involve them not only believing it, their jobs involve them utilizing that very same assumption.
Well, do you know that most pilots nowadays just use GPS to navigate the Earth? They couldn't navigate the Earth themselves without GPS. Most pilots nowadays, so they're not really truly skilled to understand the components and the mechanisms of the
Before the
airplane.
invention of GPS, they still.
Yes, maybe those pilots did know.
But
nowadays, modern pilots.
But those pilots didn't come out at all either for this position.
Maybe they did. You just didn't hear about it. Maybe the mainstream media didn't want us to hear about it.
Well, at that point, if you assume that we can never see the truth,
let me ask you this: do you think the mainstream media is actually honest and it's open for anybody to be able to push anything there?
no,
No,
I don't
it's
think
100
it's honest.
exactly.
But again, that one thing has nothing to do with the other.
The mainstream media is 100% biased towards the people that run it because it's been bought and paid for already. All of the media has been bought and paid for, especially mainstream media. So to expect the media to come out, with tests that go against the mainstream narrative, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Again, it doesn't. That's not even.
But that's completely irrelevant to the physics that debunks the globe, though. But that's what I'm sticking to: is the physics, not the
even
what
the
ifs.
physics. Even the physics. If the Earth was a globe, the physics that physicists do today relies on gravity. There is no physics without gravity.
Exactly, it's a push of the Earth, not a pull. So I acknowledge there is motionless flat earthers would deny gravity. Yeah, I'm not a motionless flat earther. I'm a realist, if anything. I acknowledge reality for what it is, and it shows me that it's pushing up. The reality is moving up.
Another thing is also all physics that look at the curvature that study the Earth. Again, they work under the assumption of a globe Earth.
Yeah. So here, I have images of the Earth, and these are official NASA images, and they admit they're all CGI. So they don't have genuine photographs of the Earth. So every image you see of the Earth like this is just a cartoon.
I don't care about those images. I know they're CGI, but again, the physics that they do in relation to the Earth, about things on Earth, such as the depth into the crust, everything else, these things are under again the assumption that they have as physicists, knowing all that they do around Earth. So again, like I said at the beginning of this conversation,
so your best argument for the globe is that it has to be a globe because there's no way everybody's lying. So that's your best argument?
There's no way everybody's lying, and all the things that we've cited through physics, assuming these things have turned out to be true.
And it's all based on the pulling force of gravity, which is a false premise in my opinion.
Well, yeah, no, it's not a false premise at all.
It is a false premise. So let me just show you how quickly we can debunk gravity. So you have an accelerometer on your phone, or you have a smartphone, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So here, let me just show you real quick. Yeah. Okay.
Unfortunately, sir, still have to get going.
All right, 1 minute. If you want to just take a look real quick. So it's based on the accelerometers on our phone. So here, let me. I did this experiment myself, and it's on my channel. I'll give you my channel after when we're done. But yeah.
digital accelerometer is a device that detects the presence of a force or acceleration. For example, when at rest and connected to the Earth, it detects 1 g-force. As soon as I accelerate it from being at rest, the accelerometer detects that acceleration by increasing the g-force. Whether I accelerate it to the right, to the left, up, or down, the accelerometer will always detect the acceleration 100% of the time. However, the instant I put the accelerometer into free fall, it detects a deceleration. It goes from 1 g down to 0. If the accelerometer was accelerating down to free fall, it would detect that acceleration by increasing from 1 g, not decreasing. Not only does the accelerometer show that there's no detectable acceleration in free fall, it also shows that the vector of the force of the Earth is up. When I switch to the vector tab of the accelerometer, we can see when at rest on Earth, it detects that the vector of the force is down, as shown by the green line. However, the vector on the phone is inverted, because when I apply force to the right, the vector goes to the left. And when I apply a force to the left, the vector goes to the right. When I apply a force down, the vector inverts up. And when I apply a force up, the downwards vector increases, showing that the vector on the phone is inverted from the true direction of the force, or vector. So when the phone is at rest on the Earth, knowing that the vector is inverted, the direction of the force or vector is up. Also, when the accelerometer is in free fall, the vector completely vanishes, showing that it's now being accelerated down by a force, which proves that the force or vector of the Earth is up, not down.
So pretty much all of the accelerometers in our phones, when it comes to the vector tabs, are inverted. So when you have your phone, it shows that the vector is down. But when you accelerate down, the vector goes up. And when you accelerate up, it increases the downwards vector because the true vector is up. So, that's basically what it shows. And in free fall, there is no vector because it's not moving down.
There's two contentions. For one, you have to assume that the accelerometer that the people controlling the narrative put on your phone is correct.
Well, the accelerometer doesn't lie. It's just a device.
It's a
tool.
device that they
It's a
made,
tool.
though. Who made the device?
But here's the thing. This is an accelerometer. This is a digital accelerometer inside the phone. This is an analog accelerometer. So this will react to acceleration as well. The ball will always get pushed in the direction of force. In free fall, it doesn't get pushed down when it should. Because if I physically accelerate this down, the ball does get pushed down.
But again, like I said at the beginning, nobody claims that the Earth necessarily pulls you into it in the way that they are saying. The claim is that the spinning for that gravity exists, but it's the spin that makes the gravity us feel gravity.
Even if that was the case, when you have an object at rest and you release it, it moves technically, right? In your model, it has to move down, right? Because it's being pulled down apparently, right?
No, it's the Earth coming to meet it by the spin of the Earth.
So the Earth is coming up to meet it by the spin of the Earth.
Yeah.
So there is no pulling force then.
Gravity is again.
Okay, let's say it's spinning this way, right? How does an object fall up here then? I mean, it wouldn't even fall here because the Earth would just be moving that way. It's not moving up. If the Earth was spinning, the Earth is only moving in I don't know what direction it's spinning, but it's going to be moving this way. It's not going to be moving this way.
Because again,
the Earth cannot spin and move up.
The Earth tilts on its axis.
Sure, there's a tilt.
There's a tilt, and that means that at all points of the Earth, it's always being pushed. You're always being pushed in.
I'm always.
Always.
That's because you're believing in a pulling force.
No, not pulling. Again, if the Earth is spinning, right?
Yes,
if
it's spinning. Okay, it's spinning, and there's somebody here, and there's somebody down here.
Yeah. If it goes like this.
Yeah.
If there's always.
Wait, there's going back and forth.
It's a tilt. It happens. The Earth spins on its axis back and forth throughout the seasons. That's how we have seasons. So as it spins, you see.
How are people sticking to it?
At all times, the person up here is still being essentially.
How are people sticking to it from every angle? How is all water sticking to it?
That's because of the atmosphere. Water doesn't even stay in.
Because the globe Earth explanation is that gravity pulls everything to the center, and that's why everything sticks to it, and that's why it doesn't fall, right? The reality is the reason why we're stuck to the Earth is because the Earth is pushing up against us, and we're all stuck on it. So that's why we're stuck to the Earth, because the Earth is pushing up against us. You're saying that How are we stuck to the Earth in your model? I'm trying to understand that. Is it not a pulling force, right? On a globe Earth, how are we stuck to it? How are we stuck to it? Why don't we float into space on a globe Earth?
Again,
Because it's a pulling force, right? You have to believe that the pulling force of gravity is holding everything towards the center of the ball. And that's how you can have someone standing down here, someone standing here, and someone standing up here.
suppose, but again,
So that's why an upwards push and a globe doesn't work together. And that's why they have to push this whole idea of a pull, because if we actually could show that it's actually a push, then the whole global concept just doesn't exist. It couldn't even exist on paper. You know, it would be one of the most retarded, theories ever. But yeah, it's the number one. So that's just, what does that show about the people? They're able to believe the most ridiculous theory about the Earth to be true. What does that show? That just shows me that people were dumbed down.
again, you're assuming that literally everyone's lying.
No, most people are just believing it. There is people lying though, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, but you're assuming that again, the people who are on the physics forefront, the people who work with calculations of the Earth, assuming that the Earth is round. Look, the problem is with your position, it means that anyone who works with an assumption of the Earth being round or having a certain radius
Yes.
would make incorrect calculations.
No, you know what they say? All engineers, for example, that build railroads, that build tunnels, you know what they say? They say they don't take account of the Earth's curvature because it's too big.
Yeah, that is true.
Nope, 8 inches per mile squared. Railroads go for hundreds of miles. Bridges go for, the longest bridge in China is 100 miles. It should have over a mile of curvature, and it doesn't. So again,
I don't know if those calculations are correct.
Oh, again, you can look this up. You take a picture of
I
it
have
if
no
you
time
want.
about to get a class.
But yeah, no, appreciate the chat, man. But yeah, this is the
Conversation.
reality, and I appreciate the conversation, man. Appreciate it. Take care. You want to take the channel with me? Here. All right, man. No worries.
What are you guys up to?
Yeah. So 2 very easy questions, just to see if you're smarter than the 5th grader. You want to give it a shot?
Well, let's see. So, what
Yeah.
sort of fifth grader from the U.S.?
Average 5th grader. It doesn't really matter. It's common sense questions. Put it
Let's
that
see.
way.
Let's see.
I believe a 10-year-old has common sense somewhat.
One can pray.
Yeah, right.
We shall
All right.
see.
So I have 3 box trucks. They're completely sealed.
Yes.
They're all on a level surface, and they all have an apple hanging from a string.
Yes.
The
So
only-
pendulum swing, right?
Just a swing. The difference between these 2 box trucks is that one is at rest, one is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So out of these 3,
So one is stationary, right? One is going forward,
yes, and one is accelerating in reverse.
and one is going backwards.
reverse.
Accelerating.
Reverse.
Yeah, you have reverse going backwards.
Yes. So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Which one is at rest?
At rest.
Okay, let's see.
A, B, or C?
Let's see if I know my physics, mechanical physics. So if it's at rest, and we're assuming it's going from rest, accelerating.
Yes.
So it's not like a constant
No,
acceleration.
it's not a constant.
Constant
It's just one is at rest, one is in
B,
the.
hopefully.
It is B. So why would you say B though?
Okay, so if it was accelerating like this, right? Accelerating
Forward.
forwards, conservation of mass would push it backwards.
Okay.
And then if you're reversing this backwards, it'd be going forwards.
Forward. Okay, fair enough. So if it's not moving,
It has to be B.
and it's at rest. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's B. Exactly. You got it.
Yeah,
So obviously.
do I know my physics?
Yeah, you got it. So
Do I know how to back up on a car?
yeah. So obviously, accelerating forward will be A, and it's
Yes.
obviously it's due to inertia. So because
Yeah,
the
exactly.
apple has inertia, it gets left behind.
Yeah,
So the
it's
whole
like
thing-
when you accelerate in a car, you're pushed backwards.
Yes.
When you brake, push
But
forward.
you're not being forced to the back of your seat. It's the back of your seat
Seats
pushing
yeah, I
up
know.
against you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so you feel a fictitious force pulling you back,
Yeah.
but it's actually the cart pushing up against you.
I know.
Yeah. So that's the reality. Okay, perfect. You got the
Mechanics.
first. Yeah.
All
Easy.
right.
So the second one, similar,
great.
but instead of an apple, is a helium balloon.
Yes.
So out of these 3, which one is at rest?
Oh, it's still B.
Yes, it is
Right?
B, and it's for the exact same reason as the first.
Yes.
Yes, it's not moving.
Mm-hmm.
Which one's accelerating forward?
Which one's accelerating forward? So let's accelerating forward. It should be A.
You're saying
Accelerating
is that your
forward.
final answer?
Yes.
So in this one,
Was it C?
it's actually C. So the reason why it's C, there's 2 reasons why.
Wait, let me think about
Yeah,
it. Let me
sure,
think about
sure.
it. So when you're accelerating forward, so now because So C was backwards, right? Like this. Now it's on the ground.
Yeah, now
And then
it's a
mass
helium
is
balloon.
up here. So then
It goes forward. So the two reasons is because helium is less dense than air.
Yes.
That's the first reason. That's why it floats, and that's why you have to tie the string in the bottom. The second reason is the force. So as soon as I apply a force in this direction, for example,
Yes.
all of the air that's inside of the truck is also being forced through space.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
because air is more dense than helium, is able to push it in the same direction
Yeah.
that the air is also being pushed.
Uh-huh.
Because if I push the air in this direction, the helium balloon will get pushed in that same
Yes.
direction. Because that's what a buoyant effect is.
Yes.
It's a chain reaction of a force. That's
Yeah.
what buoyancy. So here, I can show that here. This is a buoyant object inside of water, obviously.
Yes.
If I apply a force in this direction, what direction will the ball go?
This
Yes,
direction?
it goes with it.
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah, yeah.
It goes with it. Again, buoyancy follows the same direction of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
force. So let me ask you this. So with the apple,
Let's see if I know my
yeah, no, with the apple, obviously it just gets left behind. So the apple has a
It's
parent.
denser.
It has a parent motion.
parent.
A parent motion because the apple didn't move back.
Yes.
It's the truck that moved forward.
Yes.
The balloon has true motion because
Yes.
it is being pushed forward to space. So buoyancy is a true force, right?
Yes.
So if I have a helium balloon here on Earth and an apple, and I release them both, which
Yes.
one of those two has true motion
So you release them.
here on Earth? And I release a helium balloon and I release an apple.
So right, the apple just goes downwards.
What about the helium balloon?
It goes upwards.
Why does the helium balloon go up, you think?
Because it's lighter than the air, so it floats
So the
up.
air's pushing it up?
It's not pushing it up. It's rather floating.
Floating up? How does it float up? What's pushing up the helium balloon, or what's moving the helium balloon?
What's moving the helium balloon?
Up.
Because there's no attraction force, right? It's not getting attracted up. It would be, I guess, the air, right?
Yeah, the air is pushing it
Air
up.
is
So just like the
pushing
van, I mean the truck here, when I force the air in that direction, the air pushes the helium in the same
Yes.
direction because air is more dense.
Yes.
So the fact that helium balloon rises obviously tells us that the air is also pushing it up.
Yes.
But what's pushing up the air to be able to push up the helium?
What is it?
It's the earth.
Yeah.
So the earth, it's actually exerting a pushing force and it's not pulling you down. So the reason why you're stuck to the earth is not because it's pulling you down to it, it's because the earth is literally pushing up against you right
Because
now.
it's spinning.
No, it's because it's literally just moving up to space. So here's the thing: when you release an object into free fall, everyone believes that this has true motion
Yeah.
that goes down, but the reality is it only has a parent motion. Just like the apple has a parent motion,
Yeah.
and it's the container moving. It's the same thing here on Earth.
Yeah.
When you release this has a parent motion that it goes down because it's the Earth that's moving up. So the
Yeah.
Earth is the container that's moving up,
How's
and
the
that's.
earth moving up?
So the Earth, again, buoyancy shows us that there is an upward push of the Earth.
Yeah.
What is
Whoa.
causing the Earth to move up? What's the mechanism of the Earth's motion? I don't know what that is. So the fact is, though, the Earth is exerting an upwards push. And have you heard of the normal force of the Earth?
Yes.
So that's the only true force that exists in nature. It's the
Yes.
normal force. The pulling force of gravity, however, is just a concept, a theory that objects accelerate down in free fall because that has never been proven or detected. So that's why it's just.
Yes.
So the only force is up. So what does that mean, right? So you believe the Earth is a ball, right?
Well, it's not a perfect sphere.
But
yes.
sure, a globe, you could say,
Yeah.
oblique. All right. You understand that on a ball, up is relative, right? So if you're standing here, up is this, up in every direction away from the
Yeah,
center,
yeah.
right? If we could prove physically, and that's what buoyancy shows us, that the Earth is pushing up and not pulling you down, how can the Earth push up in every direction at the same time if it was a ball?
So what's your point?
My point is that in order for people to believe in the ball Earth, they first have to believe in gravity being a pulling force, because if we could prove that it's the Earth pushing up, and instead, that would mean the Earth will have to be expanding and it would just
Yeah.
explode to be able to move up in every direction at the same time. So the fact is, the Earth is just an extended level plane that's moving up in one direction. So everybody's up is the same. It's not right. So the Earth pushing up debunks the whole heliocentric model. It's the number one proof to debunk the globe. So the fact that the force of the Earth is a push, not a pull, will be the number one proof to debunk the globe.
So
Because
what's the big point then?
So the point is that we've been lied to about what the Earth actually is. So the Earth is not a globe. It's a level extended plane that's
it's
moving up
flat?
through space. It's not flat, it's level. Because over 95% of flat earthers claim the Earth is motionless. So they claim the Earth is static, which is a complete misrepresentation of reality. So they're buying into an idea of gravity, flat earthers, but they don't call it gravity, they call it something else. So they believe that objects accelerate
Okay,
down.
so now let's say it's a plane, right?
It's a level plane, yes.
All right, it's a
Pushing
level
up.
plane's going up.
Yes.
So how do we explain years? How do we explain
Years?
Yeah, the fact that, I don't know, there's seasons on the planet.
Sure. So you're talking about
The fact that
so a year is
23.5 degrees, and the fact that you have a 24-hour day,
So a
the
20
pole in 12 hours.
Sure. So all of these are just concepts, and I can come up with a concept too to fit the level Earth, but that doesn't prove whether the Earth is a globe or not. The physics proves that. But here, let me tell you this. So you're saying how would a year work, right? A year is 365 days, right?
Not only a year, the fact that it's longer, right? So if you're at North Pole, you have a 6-month day, 6-month
Oh,
night.
yes.
At the equator, you have a 12-hour day and 12-hour night.
So all that has to do with the motion of the sun. So depending how the sun moves above us, it's going to illuminate other parts on Earth more than other parts. So it's just the seasons have to do with the motion of the sun. So the motion of the sun above us.
So then what would be the idea? What, the sun goes around the Earth?
Yes, the sun goes around the Earth. It's not the Earth that goes around the sun spinning. That's just made up.
So then the idea would be that it's geocentric?
Geocentric.
And then what about the stars?
The stars? Again, when it comes to the
What do you
luminaries,
say about the stars?
Yes.
And about the black holes?
Sure,
And about
sure. Everything about outer space and the stars and planets and all of that are just, it's a concept. I don't know if you knew outer space is just a concept. So it's not something that they can't physically prove that actually exists. So they claim to have satellites that they shoot millions and millions of miles away, right? And then they send back images, right? But they look.
Okay.
So all of
then
that
what
is.
about,
Yeah.
So while I'm at it, because
Yeah. Sure.
But so what about the moon? Or what about other planets that we see and the interaction, the forces of interaction, right? Between
Well, okay, what forces are you talking about between
Tides.
moons? Huh?
so the tides. So
The tides. Okay.
Yeah.
What about the tides? Like you're trying to like what's causing the tides is what you're saying?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So in my opinion, again, the tides, in my opinion, have nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. But I'll tell you, in my opinion, what's causing them. So in my opinion, the water being level here on Earth, it's level perpendicular to the vertical force of the Earth, right? But the vertical force of the Earth is a push. So in my opinion,
Okay. So then, let's say it's pushing for
Yes.
right? Let's say we're doing. So then
Sure.
we'd have to push an infinite amount.
yeah,
right?
it's pushing up. I don't think the Earth is moving in a straight line, though, perfectly straight line.
Okay.
And
So
that's
it's
why
not
we have
moving in
a perfectly straight line up. To us, it is up.
So if it's not moving in a perfectly straight line,
In my
it's
opinion.
more like this.
It's in my
Or would it be
opinion.
like a curve? Yeah.
No, in my opinion, it's probably a cycle. Again, I
Maybe
can
like,
prove
like
it.
a helix? Like
It,
this?
no. It's moving up like this, relative to us, right? Just moving
Yeah.
up. But outside of the Earth, the true motion could be some kind of, it's probably doing a cycle like this
So then wait, so
and
then,
coming back. But we're always on top of it, like this. It's always pushing up against our feet.
so what? It's moving like this?
No. If we're on top of it like that and it's in some kind of
Yeah.
cycle, it's moving like this.
Okay, but then
Exactly.
wouldn't you be upside down?
No, because what gives us down is the upwards motion. So
Okay.
down is the opposite of up. And up is the motion of the Earth. So wherever the Earth is moving, that's our up. The opposite will be down. We don't fall off the Earth because the Earth is pushing up against you.
So
Doesn't
it's
matter what
pushing up
direction.
against you, but it's also rotating.
Yeah, but in outside of the Earth, it doesn't matter what direction it's moving.
There's no outer space, right? 'Cause
Well,
you
there
said-
is an area outside of the Earth, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I just
how
that-
big is this area?
I have no clue. I don't know what's outside of the Earth. Nobody's been outside of the Earth, but the Earth the Earth exists
They've been
within.
on the moon and they have floated around.
Yeah, but the moon footage is. If you believe that footage, then that's your own belief, right? But in my opinion, the whole moon landing, if you go back and look at it, it's laughable. It's ridiculously, painfully
Okay, so what?
bad, literally. Like
Okay, so then what would make you say that? Just curious.
you could see wires from the astronauts when they're walking on the moon. Supposedly, they fall and then they get pulled back up, and you can see the reflection of wires on the moon.
Where do we see the reflection of wires?
On the videos that they show. Yeah, if you look at if you look at the moon landing footage and actually look at it unbiasedly, it's a joke. It's a joke. I hate to say it, but it's just.
Okay, so
is.
what else? What else?
Well, everything about outer space, it's a concept that has nothing to do with the actual dimensions of the Earth. So here, let me tell you this: if the Earth was a globe, right,
Yeah.
and it has curvature, we should be able to physically measure that curve, shouldn't we? Okay. And how much?
Okay. So the light. All right. Speed of light. Okay.
Okay.
So how do we know the speed of light? So we have curved curved mirrors shooting a light. That mirror, this curve, is shooting it back. That's why I measure the speed of light.
Okay, speed of light, in my opinion, is a concept, but even if you believed it, that has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. That
Wait, so
doesn't.
what do you mean believing the speed of light? Like,
So the speed of light is a mathematical concept.
Okay, so
Yes,
so
it's
we
not
really
something that's been proven.
What do you mean?
Like the whole idea of light traveling through space at the speed it does, that has never been actually proven.
So what would be your definition of proof?
It's something that can be tested, measured, and repeated.
But it has mirrors.
Okay. Let's say it has been. How does that prove a globe? How does that prove curvature of the Earth?
So we prove it because when we look at the horizon,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We prove it's curved. Because if it was flat, right, then the idea would be if you go up in a plane 30,000 feet, you'd be able to see 500 miles, 1,000 miles.
You could see, if you want on a mountain, you could see pretty far. What prevents you from seeing infinitely is, first, we don't have infinite vision, so we do have a limit to perspective, so how far we can see. Second, we have the atmosphere that's in the way as well. So the further you look through the atmosphere, the foggier it's going to get, because you're looking through atmosphere, you're looking through moisture, right? So there's two things that prevent you from looking infinitely. It's the limit of perspective and the atmosphere. So you couldn't look infinitely, even if the Earth was
If you
level.
went 100 miles out, right?
Yeah.
When there is no atmosphere.
Well, there's always atmosphere.
No, you're 1,000
The atmosphere is always here. Like right now, there's moisture here right now.
If you go up 1,000 miles in the world,
The higher you elevate, you'd be able to see further.
yeah, you'd be able to see farther.
Here's
You
another
start
thing.
seeing the curvature.
You don't see the curvature, because if the Earth was truly curving at the horizon, the higher you elevate, the lower you would have to look down on the curve, and the horizon doesn't drop below your feet. It rises. It appears to rise
So the
with
real
them.
question would be,
Yeah.
so let's say you were to get into some rock,
Yeah.
somehow, right? You go up 10,000 miles and somehow see the globe. Somehow, right? Hypothetically. Would that make you think that there is a globe?
Yeah, but here's the thing. People have done that, and the only place you're ever going to see curvature of the Earth is through CGI images like this, because these are NASA official images, and they don't have real photographs, or through GoPro lenses like this. So a fisheye lens, you're familiar with the fisheye lens? So any action camera that you see in high altitude showing this curvature, it's just a lens effect. So that's the only way you're going to see curvature, is through camera trickery or CGI images, because the curvature of the Earth doesn't exist in reality.
So then, I guess the last question you said.
Yeah, no worries.
So,
So-
where would you think, where would you learn, or not learn, like, where did you come up with? So I'm guessing you're not born thinking of the
No. So I will admit I was kind of a flat earther, you could say, but that's all controlled. It's all bullshit too. So I came across the fact that the Earth is pushing up not that long ago, like 2-3 years ago, and that is the nail in the coffin. That debunks the globe Earth 100%. Yeah, like that obliterates the whole globe Earth concept. The fact that the Earth is moving up, and it's not. When you release an object into free fall, there's two options: either the object moves down to the Earth, or the Earth moves up to the object. Those are the two options that we have. And the fact is, it's the Earth that moves up to the object in free fall.
How were you thinking that that's not the fact that it's going down to
Yes, because our every smartphone, for example, your smartphone, everyone, has a built-in accelerometer inside.
Yes.
So what that does, it detects the presence of a force. So when you have it here at rest on Earth, it detects 1G. So when it's at rest and I accelerate it from being at rest in any direction, up, down, it increases from 1G. It detects the increase in force. It detects the acceleration, right? If I have it at rest like this, and I release it into free fall, people claim that it accelerates down to the Earth. However, the accelerometer doesn't detect that acceleration. It detects 0 G-force in free fall. Because if I was to put an accelerometer on a helium balloon and release that helium balloon, that accelerometer will detect an upwards force. So that shows me that that helium balloon is being pushed up and the object in free fall is not. So it's the Earth that's creating that upwards push that meets the object in free fall. So the object in free fall never moved down to the Earth. It's the Earth that moved up to the
that, or
object.
it just doesn't have enough time to pick it up when they're going down?
No, you could drop it from however high you want. And then it picks it up instantly. That's the thing. If I have it at rest and I actually accelerate it or move it in any direction, it instantly registers that force. Instantly. What happens in free fall, it instantly detects a deceleration. Instantly. It doesn't detect an acceleration, it detects a deceleration. So again, that shows that it's the Earth that comes up to an object in free fall, which again debunks the whole heliocentric model.
Of course, and the Earth is the center of the universe, or what?
I would say yes, it's the only place that exists, in my opinion.
So
Prove
the
me,
only
prove
place
me,
that
prove me
exists-
otherwise.
So wait, so the sun doesn't exist, right?
No, it does exist.
So, but wait, you said it
It's
didn't
part of the
exist.
Earth system. The sun and the moon and the
So
stars are
Earth is
part
like,
of the Earth
so
system.
wait, is the sun orbiting the Earth, or is like how
The sun is moving above the Earth. I don't know
Oh,
how
I
it's
see.
moving exactly.
So here's we got the Earth here.
Yes,
right?
the Earth is this
sun
table.
Is like going like
the sun is tiny and moving around the Earth somehow. I don't know how it's moving.
So
But that's what gives us
so
their
we don't know
seasons.
how the sun is moving, but we
No.
do know that the Earth is
Yes.
moving straight up.
Yes, because physics shows us that the Earth is level pushing up. I don't need to know how big the Earth is. I don't need to know how fast it's moving up. All I need to know that it is level pushing up, and physics shows me that. Yeah, and that literally again debunks the whole heliocentric model.
For the last 500 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate it, man. You guys want to give this a shot?
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I'll get right to the point. You guys believe the Earth is a globe, right?
Yeah.
The Earth is a ball. Why do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
A ball?
A ball. A globe.
That's what I've been taught my whole life.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, is there any other reason why you believe it?
Pictures
Pictures?
that we've seen. Yeah.
Okay. So here, let me show you these pictures real quick, because I do have some. Let me see, they're right here. Here we are. So this is an image from NASA from 2002, and this is an image from NASA from 2012. So these are official NASA images, but they admit they're all CGI. So every image that we've seen of the Earth from space that like this as a globe, they're all cartoons. So there's no real photograph of the Earth from outer space that exists, admittedly so. So not even up for debate. So again, they're showing us these images, in my opinion, because they're trying to lie to us about what the Earth actually is.
You think it's flat?
It's not flat. It's actually level, and there's a huge difference between flat and level. So the Earth is level because it has orientation, which means it has a force, so it's moving up. So the Earth is a level plane that's pushing up. So gravity, you know how they tell us that gravity is a pulling force of the Earth?
Yeah.
So when you release an object, it gets pulled down to the Earth.
Yes.
The reality is the Earth that's constantly pushing up. Yeah, so when you release this object, it's the Earth that comes up to meet it.
Well, there's many forces that it's not just gravity. There's a pressure gradient force.
Yes, pressure gradient force, which is caused by the upward push of the Earth. The pressure gradient
Yeah.
is an effect of a force.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the pressure gradient shows the direction of the force too, because you have the more dense at the bottom and the less dense on top, which is in the front of the force. So the fact that we have less dense air on top shows that the air is being compressed down here because it's being pushed up from down here. So the point of contact is the Earth with their feet, not us.
So how fast is the Earth moving up at the same rate, like 9.1?
So there is this debate. Okay, so an object in free fall measures a 9.8 meters per second acceleration, right? So the reality is either this is accelerating down at 9.8 meters per second, the Earth is moving up at 9.8 meters per second, or this is decelerating at 9.8 meters per second. So those are the three options. In my opinion, this is decelerating at 9.8 meters per second. So a lot of people would claim also that the Earth is accelerating at 9.8 meters per second, but in my opinion, that doesn't make any sense because then the Earth will have to be accelerating to infinity.
Yeah, where would it go?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't buy into that idea, even though there is other rising earthers that claim that. I think they're just trying to muddy the waters. But in my opinion, again, I can't prove this part, but in my opinion, it's decelerating. Objects are decelerating in free fall. And it's the Earth that's just constantly moving up. Yeah. So that's the reality. So again, obviously, you guys believe the Earth is a ball, but if the Earth was a ball and moving up, it wouldn't work because that would mean the Earth would have to be expanding to be able to push up in every direction at the same time. To be able to, so in order for people to believe in the ball Earth, they first have to believe in gravity being a pull. Because if we could prove that it's a push, then again, the whole globe Earth would just fall apart. It can't push up if it's a ball. The fact is, the Earth is just in a level extended plane that's pushing up in one direction.
What about the seasons?
So the seasons have to do with the motion of the sun. So obviously the sun has heat, and wherever the sun is closer to, it's going to be summer for you. So so that the seasons just have to do with the motion of the sun. It has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth.
The Earth is moving too.
Yeah, it's moving up, but it's not moving through
It
space.
should have to do with the shape of the Earth, like how like Antarctica is like.
You're talking about the tilt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, let me just show you this map, and I don't go with any map because in my opinion every map is wrong. But if we were just to take a globe Earth like this and flatten it out like this is what the Earth would look like. But I completely deny this map. I don't agree with this map. But this is what it would look like, right? So the sun just circles above the Earth. So whenever it's summer here in North America, closer to the center, that means the sun is doing little circles above. That means the sun is closer, so we feel the heat, and we have longer days in the north. When it's our winter in the south summer, the sun, in my opinion, could be doing a bigger circle. So now the sun is further from the center, and that's why it's colder. And now they have summer on the southern hemisphere. And then it's just the motion of the sun above the Earth. That's what the seasons are. But it has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. Here, let me just show you guys one more proof besides gravity that debunks the globe. Do you guys know the radius of the Earth that they tell us? Because obviously,
That I remember, yeah.
yeah, so the radius of the Earth, they tell us, is 3,159 miles. And they have to give us this number because they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth. So they need to know the radius of orbit if they're supposedly going around it, right? So these are the numbers. So based on the radius of the Earth and using a simple calculation like the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we can calculate for how much curvature there should be every mile. In every mile, there should be 8 inches per mile squared. What that means, in the first mile, there should be an 8-inch curve, second mile, 32 inches, and by the third mile, it should be 6 feet of curvature. And in 10 miles, there should be 66 feet of curvature, which is like a 6-story building. So how do we measure for that curve, right? To see if it's actually there. There's a very easy way. So if we went out to a giant lake that was miles across, filled with water, and we build a level structure above that lake, the water is going to be parallel to anything horizontal above it, because when water is contained and at rest, the surface always forms an equal surface, which is level, which is horizontal. They're trying to tell us that the surface of water is bending 8 inches per mile squared, which is 6 feet and 3 miles. So they're trying to tell us that water is bending down 6 feet and 3 miles and 66 feet and 10 miles. Now imagine going to a lake that was 10 miles across. They want you to believe that the end of that lake is 66 feet below you at the starting point, which is a physical impossibility for water to be able to bend and maintain that shape of the surface. This will be the number 2 proof to debunk the globe Earth, is a physical measurement of the Earth will show that there is no curvature, regardless of the size of the Earth. Because now people might say, oh, it's just much bigger than that. It's double the size, right? Well, it doesn't matter. You still need curvature to make a ball, which water doesn't do this. Water requires a container, like a bowl. That's why the oceans and the lakes are like craters, because the water fills that void and the surface always equalizes. Water doesn't have the ability to stick to a ball and bend around it. That's retarded. I hate to say it, but people believe that because that's what they've been shown, like this, cartoons. But the reality is it's much different than we think. So if I was to ask you guys respectfully, I know you said it's just what you've been told, but is there anything else that maybe convinces you that the Earth is a globe?
Just like what I've been taught in school, like in pictures and like displays and all that, everything's a circle.
Yeah.
I feel like even when I was like taught in my climatology class, kind of just.
Well, I mean, they call it atmosphere. They put a sphere in there.
Yeah, but we also talked about like the water and how like it moves and whatever, and sometimes like it could be higher sea level than other areas.
That's the tides. In my opinion, the tides, this is just my opinion, this has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth, but in my opinion, the tides happen because the Earth is not moving in a perfectly straight line, in my opinion. So the water is deviating because it's reorienting to the force of the Earth, which is up. But because the tides are like deviating, in my opinion, that's why we get a high tide and a low tide, is because the water is reorientating to stay with Earth's vector. So the water follows the Earth's vector, which is an upwards motion, not a pull. So that's the reality. So here, let me give you guys my channel. Do you guys have any questions for me before you guys go?
I'm just curious what this is. Yeah.
No, yeah. So yeah, here's my channel. Here, I'll give you guys one each. I'm live right now, so you guys can check it out. But yeah, I go to USC, UCR, and I talk about this because it is the #1 censored subject on Earth, because it's the easiest to prove and it's the biggest lie on Earth, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm sure we're lying about.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of things, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, thank
All right,
you.
you guys have a good day. Appreciate the chat. Thank you.